So activity 5.2 starts on the bottom of page 404. We have an earn money from home club, right? It says it requires you to pay an $800 membership fee. Then you buy travel sets for $20 each and sell them at a price you decide on. And then question 8 begins with, at what cost is it to you to buy X travel sets? And then we're asked to write a function C of X. Well, if we think about it, if we pay $800 plus $20 per X number of sets, right, the greater X is, the greater our cost will be, our function is going to look something like this. So we have C of X equals 20 times the number of kits, or X kits, plus the $800 membership fee. It says, what is the cost to buy 50 sets? Well, we're going to replace the X with 50. So C of 50 would be the 20 times the 50 plus the 800 to give me $1,800. The company recommends that we give away 10 as a free promotion. So if you buy X items, how many do you sell? Well, it'll be X minus 10, right? Because 10 we give away. So there's my X minus 10. If we buy 50 and give away 10, how many do we sell? So I'm thinking 50 minus the 10 would be 40. So here's my 50 minus 10 to give me 40. Question 10. It says, all right, well, we want to come up with the average cost per item sold. So they're saying the average cost would be my total cost divided by the number of items sold. So here's the equation that represents total cost, and here's the equation that represents the number of items sold. So we can put this together in some type of equation, h of x. So it looks something like this, right? Here's my total cost, the 20x plus 800, divided by the number of items sold, x minus 10. Question 11 asks us to find h of 50. So I'm going to replace the x with 50 and solve. So when I replace x with 50 and I do the math across the top, I'm left with $1,800 over 40 sets. So it's $45 per set. So if we fill in the blanks, if you buy 50 kits or sets and sell 10 of them, your average cost will be exactly $45 per set. So it'll look something like this. Question 12 says, okay, write an equation that can be solved to find x, the number of sets you must buy to bring your cost down to $30. So if we know, if I buy 50 sets, it brings my cost down to 45. Well, if I buy some number bigger than 50, I can probably bring my average cost down, right? The more sets I buy, the lower my average cost per set's going to be. So let's take a look at question 12. It just says write the equation. We don't have to solve the equation, just write the equation we must solve. So I replace my h of x with 30, because h of x represents average cost, and x represents the number of items we must buy and sell to bring my cost down to 30. Question 13 says make a table and estimate the value by copying 3 rows of the table. So we're going to enter the right side of this equal sign into our calculator. And I think you want to take care to make sure that you put parentheses around the numerator and the denominator, right? So separate the numerator and denominator with the use of parentheses. Now let's go to our table setup. Right above window it says table set. So press second and the window key. We want to start our table at 0, and we're going to count by 1. Okay. Now when I press second and the graph key, I want to scroll down to see how many items I need to sell to get to a $30 cost, right? So as I keep scrolling down, as x gets bigger and bigger, you'll notice my average cost is getting smaller and smaller. Right? How many of these do we need to sell? Now, I'm already in the 30s and I notice I'm at 65. Well, just think about this. It took 50 items to bring our cost down to $45. So when I look at my calculator, I know x has to be at least bigger than 50. So perhaps I could keep scrolling down by pushing the button one at a time. Or I can actually go to my table setup, and instead of starting at 0 or 25, maybe I'll start at, say, 100. Okay? And now when I press second and the graph key, you can see, okay, well at 100 I'm now at 31. As I keep scrolling down, oh look at that, at 110 I get 30. So let's go back to the question. 13 says, how many items do I have to sell to bring my cost down to $30? Looks like I have to sell 110 items to get down to 30. Now again, it would have been tedious. I could have hit the down arrow 110 times to get here, but you know, we used a little bit of logic from the previous problem, right? We knew that 50 got us to 45, so we needed a number bigger than 50. All right, so it does say copy 3 rows of the table, so let's do that. So here's my 3 rows, and again, I want to circle my answer. All right, there's my answer. So now it says if you buy, well basically if I buy 110 sets and sell 100 of them, right? Remember, we give away 10, then my cost per set will be $30. Right? If you buy 110 sets, you sell 100, the cost will be $30 per set. Let's take a look at the graph. Right, so they've graphed y equals 800 plus 20x over x minus 10, and this is what the graph looks like. And they ask, what's the practical meaning of the ordered path 30, 70? Write a complete sentence. So remember, this is 30, the number of items, and this represents the average cost. So 30, 70 means if I buy and sell 30 items, really actually if I buy 30 items, I give away 10, I sell 20, my average cost will be $70. Right, so if I buy 30 kits and I sell 20 of those kits, my average cost will be $70. 15 says, what's the equation of the vertical asymptote? Remember, the vertical asymptote is the value of x that makes the denominator 0. So in this case, you can see 10. Right, when x equals 10, I get 0 for my denominator. So the equation of my vertical asymptote would be this x equals 10. And it says sketch the asymptote into the graph with a dotted line, so I can do that. At x equals 10, we'll have a dotted line. So there's my vertical asymptote at x equals 10. And all this means is this curve is never going to touch this dotted line, right? It's an asymptote. We'll get very close to this dotted red line, but we'll never actually touch the dotted red line. Okay. Number 16, it says use your table to look at very large values of x. So I pull up my calculator, and I go to my table set. I'm going to start at 0, and I'm going to count by the book saying count by 1,000. Okay, so we can do that. And then it says press second and table. And as you can see, as I scroll down, as x gets really big, we get closer and closer to 20, but we never actually touch 20. So that's going to serve as a horizontal asymptote, okay? We're never going to touch 20. So as x gets really big or goes to infinity, y goes to or approaches 20. Right? So we can say y approaches 20, and the equation of the horizontal asymptote is going to be y equals 20. And I'll sketch that as well, and I'll probably do that in green. So here's my horizontal asymptote in green, right? This is happening at y equals 20. So it's going to go through the 20 point, right? And we're probably going to be asked the practical meaning of this horizontal asymptote. Well, think about it. This curve represents my average cost for the number of kits sold. Basically, no matter how many kits I sell, right, as this number gets from 20 to 40 to 60, as it gets bigger and bigger, I'll approach this 20, but I'll never go through the 20, all right? Because remember, it costs $20 per kit. So I can never bring my average cost below the actual cost of each kit, right? The closest I can do would be getting very close to the $20 price. So the practical meaning again would be, no matter how many kits are sold, the average cost will never fall below or equal to $20. So remember, the $20 is the cost per kit.